Hey, what is going on, guys? In today's video, I want to have a conversation about the shotgun meta in Yapo GPR and what shotgun makes sense for you to pick depending on your playstyle. Now, the great thing about the shotgun meta is that it is very free and very open in the sense that there's no one dominant shotgun. And the other thing is I think all four shotguns are legitimately viable, which is really great to see because no matter what playstyle you like, no matter what loadout you like to run, you can run any of the four shotguns and be competitive. And it just makes fights more interesting as it won't always be pump versus pump. It might be pump versus heavy, tack versus double barrel, right? It just creates a lot more interesting engagements where you have to play around the strengths of your shotgun. So in today's video, we're going to cover each of the four shotguns and when I think it makes sense to pick it depending on your playstyle. And then we'll make a rough ranking of where I think the shotguns are in like an average overall power level. And I'll give my personal rankings as well. Now let's start out with the tack shotgun. The tack shotgun compared to both historical season 5 and era season 5 is much stronger. I made a dedicated video on this, but just to summarize, you have a significantly more body damage. You have no shotgun delay. Yes, you've lost a little bit of range and headshot damage, but I still think the tack shotgun is much better now. And I think the tack shotgun is a very good choice if you feel like, you don't have the best aim, if you don't have the best builds. This is a great beginner's learning shotgun because, it has a high rate of fire and a huge spread. So if you miss, you might actually still hit your target because the spread is so wide. And if you do completely miss, no worries, you can fire again. But even as you get better at the game, the tack shotgun is still a very viable option. You don't have to run SMGs because you don't have to shoot that one shot and then swap to something else. You can just continuously shoot the tack because the DPS is quite good. So 2 or 3 hits, you can, chunk someone down pretty quick. And overall, I think it is a decent choice. I think as you get better at the game, you may start to realize the tack might not be the best option because, when you make those edit plays and you trade 1 for 1, you're usually going to lose those trades. You have to try and trade 2 for 1. And while, yes, you have a higher rate of fire, the tack shotgun is the joint slowest with the heavy for draw speed, which is going to restrict you a bit because if you make a bunch of edits, try and go for quick shots, you're spending more time drawing. So that is a downside. I think it's probably the best option if you're new to the game. And as you get better, not the best, but still a viable choice. Next, let's talk about the pump shotgun. Pump shotgun compared to era season 5, I think is overall quite a bit weaker. You've had a body damage buff, which is nice, but a huge headshot damage nerf. You've had a range nerf. Overall, I still think it's a really good option, but definitely not anywhere near as strong as it was in era season 5 when you could just one-shot people. With 175 max damage, is still the most you're going to get out of any shotgun. Works great. As you get better at the game, I think the pump starts to make more and more sense. When you're new to the game, I don't necessarily recommend the pump because it's got a fairly tight spread, very slow rate of fire. You have to shoot another gun or build after firing the pump. And if you're not used to that yet, you're going to have a hard time. But I would say as you get better at the game, the pump shotgun will become more and more effective because it's got the second quickest draw speed, only behind the double barrel. If you're an aggressive player, you're box fighting, damage is king because you're going to trade like 2 or 3 shots and that fight might be over. So whoever is doing more damage per shot is going to win that engagement because you know how to build, you know how to space yourself. You can shoot and then block off your opponent until you're ready to shoot again. So as you get better, I'd argue the pump shotgun might even be the best choice as you get to be a good level at the game. But when you're new, it's still a decent option, but I wouldn't say it's particularly great. Next, let's talk about the heavy shotgun. My personal favorite shotgun, heavy shotgun, is about the same power level as it was in historical and era season 5. You had a headshot multiplier nerf from 2.5 to 2x, but you also drop the shotgun delay, which is nice. I think the heavy shotgun is another one of those more difficult shotguns to use. Against the pump, I'd say they take about the same amount of skill to use effectively. Because while the heavy, you do fire faster, it's got a very tight spread. So you need to aim. I'd say the heavy shotgun is more dependent on your aim, while the pump is more dependent on your mechanics. I think the heavy is like that, right in that middle ground where you can get away without an SMG, but I still think it's effective to have it. Firing 1 round a second, you can get away with just continuously firing the heavy, but wouldn't be a bad idea to swap to a secondary weapon as well. Since the pump and tack shotgun have had range nerfs, the heavy shotgun has a significant range advantage now, which I think does really help in that medium range engagement. That's where the heavy shotgun's going to shine. In box fights, it's not bad, but it's definitely a downgrade from the pump. They have about, effectively the same DPS, blue pump versus gold heavy, but you do way less damage and you draw slower. So in a straight box fight, trading 1 for 1 at close range, not really going to go well for you. It's definitely, the heavy shotgun is, I think, more for the players that maybe have really good aim, but maybe decent but not as good builds, where you want to be playing more at range, the heavy shotgun could be a really good choice. It can work when you're new. You definitely need the aim to make it work, but it still works really well as you get better at the game. I'd say it's definitely a really good choice. Could be the best choice depending on how you play, but a really solid option. Finally, double barrel shotgun. The double barrel against Era Season 5, I'd say, is overall worse, and Historical Season 5 for that matter. You know, a big damage nerf. Yes, you drop the shotgun delay, but with that damage nerf and wool damage nerf, it's not as effective as it used to be. But still can be effective. You know, if you're a newer player, the great thing about the double barrel is the spread is huge, so you don't need the aim, but you do need to know how to position yourself to barrel stuff, blast out 2 shots, and then be able to space yourself while you're reloading. So, in a sense, I feel like, unlike the heavy shotgun where you need more aim, with the double barrel, aim is less important, but mechanics might be more important in that you need to be able to space yourself out. But you could also argue that if you just jump in their face, know when to jump in their face, have like that awareness and be able to clip people out, you can also use it that way. Another thing you can do with the double barrel is run it in a double shotgun configuration with the pump or heavy, where you use the pump or heavy for most of the time, and then once you get them low, you just jump in their face and double barrel them out. That can work. Not saying that's super meta because you're reintroducing the shotgun delay to your other shotgun, which is not ideal. But, you know, with the pump shotgun, that affects absolutely nothing, and that definitely can work. Overall, I'd say the double barrel, no matter if you're new to the game or really good, I don't really think it ever becomes the best shotgun. I think it is a viable choice, but I just don't think it's quite as good as it used to be. It's a risky shotgun to carry. I think you can, if you like the playstyle, you can run it, but it's not something I'd say that I necessarily highly recommend to any player unless they know for sure I want to jump in people's faces and try and clip people out. So, now to summarize, let's kind of talk about where I'd rank the shotguns overall. If you just asked me to do a blanket ranking of including all players, all play styles, I would argue the pump shotgun I think is just slightly the best. You know, that the damage is king. As you get better at the game, the draw speed is really going to help you. I think the pump shotgun is probably overall the best option. I would say the heavy shotgun's a very close second though. You know, yes, you have a draw speed disadvantage, and yes, your damage is way lower for no gain in DPS. But the range is really nice, and it can do over 75 wall damage, which can come in handy for taking walls. I think Tac Shotgun is overall third place, definitely a little bit below. For new players, it's great, but as you get more experience, I think the Tac Shotgun starts to lose its edge. Still a viable choice, though, and by no means is it bad. And I'd say the Double Barrel is probably overall the worst. I don't think the Double Barrel, really for many playstyles, is going to be the best shotgun outright. I think it can work, but it's a very specific playstyle to be jumping in people's faces. You're not making a lot of edit plays because the range is terrible. It's a very risky gun to carry. I'd overall say it's the worst. But if you were to ask me, for example, you know, I'm definitely a more aim-focused person. I feel like I have pretty good aim. Mechanics not as good. I would say for me, I would take the heavy shotgun as my first choice, then the pump, then the double barrel, then the tac, right? But maybe you're a new player, right? If you're a new player, definitely the tac shotgun's the best. And then I'd say maybe the heavy, then the double, then the pump, right? So it really just depends on how you like to play, and really all of them are viable. So I'd recommend, you know, experimenting, giving these a try, and just see what you end up liking. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.